Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us at the Sessions at a Distance, where we have the opportunity through technology to bring these great artists to the front of you that you can enjoy their wisdom and their time. Thank you all for joining me. I've had the chance to be able to have each and every one of you on a panel, in a room, to step into your world of music. And you all have been incredible leaders in the community of what we have in our wonderful industry. David Santos, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Paul Quin.
Always good, Don.
Rich Redmond. Carlos Los Guzman, good to see you.
Thank you.
From Las Vegas, thank you so much. Harry, thank you so much for joining us. And John DeChristopher, great seeing you all. Our industry has changed dramatically. So I'm going to ask you all individually, how are you coping with what has gone down right now? And I'm going to start with David Santos.
Hey, how am I coping with what's going down? Oh, man. I mean, I'm trying to stay musical as much as possible. I live in a musical household. Wendy sings, my wife, and I've got all my instruments around me. I've got a studio in the basement. And I do some sessions. Believe it or not, I've gotten 4 sessions in the last week that came in, record dates, and I'm going to do them all. I'm very excited, but I insisted on a mask. That's the first thing I asked, of course. I'll do the sessions as long as everyone is wearing masks, because I've sort of been blindsided by the non-mask situation a few times on sessions, and it wasn't comfortable at all. So, but they all agreed it's going to be okay.
In doing these sessions, you'll go there. I'm sure there'll be some adequate social distancing from where you are. The industry can continue from your perspective.
For me, at this point, as I said, these record dates have come in, and they're sort of, they're not Music Row dates. They're sort of rock and roll things. I'm getting this unemployment thing going. I did the unemployment $600 thing, which is ending. But I'm enjoying that, spending time with Wendy. And these sessions, like I said, when I go in, I've insisted on the mask. The last session I did, I went in, and the artist himself wouldn't wear a mask, and he was sitting very close to me. It was a couch, and he had his cap on backwards, a young guy, and he was like animated and jumping and running and here and there. And I just was like, man, I'd feel better if you were wearing a mask, And he was like, I don't believe in masks. And I said, oh, but you're breathing on me, So it was uncomfortable. Let me put it that way.
Challenge being uncomfortable, but you got through the date, and now
got through it.
They've agreed to the mask, so you're moving forward, which is absolutely fantastic.
These are at Blackbird and Omni, and there are mask protocols involved. There are signage. You cannot go here and there. You have to wear a mask in the booth. You have to be sitting 6 feet away, et cetera. So I'm hoping it works out.
I'm sure it will, man. Thanks so much. Eddie Bayers, you are one of my heroes. You're down in Nashville. You are continuing what you're doing. What are you doing now in this crazy time that the world is in?
Well, we adapt. It's biological. Like David, I've done a couple albums already that'll be out in September, and I'll be back at Omni, David, over on Monday. And you're absolutely right. They have really been on top of all safety. Other than that, I've been doing sessions at home. I did a couple of songs for Rob Crosby. I'm in the middle now of there's a guy from Boston, and I'm doing keyboards on his album.
Cool.
So it continues. That's really fantastic. I'm going to go down to Harry. Harry McCarthy, you are known by every possible musician. That is so amazing that you consistently deliver the goods for what every artist needs to perform and what they do. What's happening now with the performances being restricted? How have you adapted to this?
Like everybody else, it's been really different and challenging. My business, Drum Paradise, which delivers equipment and stores equipment, does cartage. We were closed for 11 weeks. So that was kind of scary and difficult. But when we opened back up again, I had to kind of reshuffle the deck and let a few people go and, anything to keep my business alive and well. But right now, as Eddie mentioned and David, sessions are starting back up in Nashville. For me, I'm trying to make sure that everybody has the mask, follows the rules. In the beginning, we thought that the virus could be caught or, by touching things. So I was real concerned with equipment, things being in a studio and coming back into my warehouse. So that was real scary, and we weren't sure how to deal with it. But right now, everything seems to be slowly coming back. As far as The touring business, as we all know, it's upside down. Bus companies, audio companies, video companies, lighting companies, you can go across the board. So many people are out of work in our industry. The unemployment running out, the stimulus, a lot of people that I know are very concerned about it.
So we're really at a point where we have to kind of really reevaluate every single day that we're moving forward to see where we're going.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really probably like all of you. It's one day at a time, 1 week at a time. I think we're all in a position or a situation that the outcome, we got to stay positive and believe it's all going to be okay. There's a lot of other crazy stuff going on, as we know. We're all trying to keep our loved ones healthy.
Well, that's a great perspective. I mean, that really is our first priority. If we can keep ourselves and our loved ones healthy and our friends, then we'll be able to get through this, as all things will pass for sure. Thank you, Harry. Carlos, I'm going to go to yourself. Carlos, who's a phenomenal, production manager and tour manager of what you're doing. What's happening in your end of the business, Carlos? What have you seen from that?
Well, I got to tell you, I got to back up first. I've been in this thing now close to 10 years as a production or tour manager, and I owe it to that guy, that Harry McCarthy. Because if it wasn't for Harry, he wouldn't have given me the entrance to go tour with Max Weinberg, not as a drum tech, but as a production manager. And that was the gig that I started to learn how to become a production and tour manager, which led me still into this, into my gig now with Barry Gibb. And that's been going on. So I've been, because of a great recommendation from Harry, which started it all for me. It really did, because I was just a drum tech. He took me to the next level, and that's lasted over 10 years. And because of the reputation that I've gotten through Harry, I know that there's going to be a lot of things happen in the future. Barry's got a brand new documentary that's going to be the life story of the Bee Gees. It's going to be premiering very, very soon. It's done.
Wow.
So once that happens, I'm sure that once all this COVID goes away, we'll be back on the road. So, but I want to publicly thank Harry, because he's the one that really got it going for me. Thank you, my man.
Thanks, Carlos. I think my check was cashed.
That is fantastic. Well, that's really a tribute to not only Harry, but our wonderful business, when people will open up of what they do and take this to the next level and recommend people. So Harry, boy, kudos to yourself. That's fantastic. John DeChristopher, you have been involved with DW, with Zildjian, and now assisting different artists. What do you see now in the industry, and what you've noticed some changes in these past few months?
Well, further to what you were talking about, Dom, earlier, guys like Steve Gadd and Peter Erskine in particular are doing more online stuff now that they never had time to do before. But, now they have all this. That's funny. I mean, Steve, if I had a nickel for every penny that I've lost from not being able to book clinics for him, I'd be a millionaire 10 times over. Does that make sense? But anyway, now he has all this time. So it's kind of cool that he's able to do these, whether it's a master class or even something like this that he never had time for. And same with Peter. Peter has actually been doing a number of these things. So that's changed. And I was just going to say on a personal note that I got Harry McCarthy his start. So really, Carlos, you should be thanking me, because if it wasn't for me, Harry would have been nothing.
Okay, Harry, that check, forget about it, okay? It's got to go back. I've got to put a stop payment on it.
No, but anyway, I was just going to say that I'm excited because tonight my band is playing our first gig and, show in 5 months. Our last gig was March 7th, just before it all hit the fan. And I'm literally sitting in a parking lot, thanks to the advent of Wi-Fi in cars now, and getting ready to load in when we're done with our discussion today. And I think it's not going to rain. So it's really exciting. We're going to get a gig in tonight, which probably be the last one we do for the rest of the year. It's been a roller coaster. I'll be honest with you. When this all went down, I took it, a day at a time. I was real positive. I just felt like what David was saying, we got to wear masks. We got to just follow the rules. If everybody does that, we'll get through this thing. It might be a few months. None of us really knew, none of us knew that it was just going to wipe out an entire tour cycle for the rest of the year. I mean, people had ideas that was in the offing, but back in March, I think a lot of people were optimistic that by the fall, things could be in place to have musicians working again. And I, you know, I'm Dom, you've known me, you know, 35 years. I'm a positive person, but I've been up and down. I've been, you know, I thought by now in the summertime, we'd be in a different place. And it's a little depressing at times. I have to be honest with you, to just sort of try to keep being positive when you can't do the things that you're so used to doing, even little things like going to a restaurant. You know, we have a place on Martha's Vineyard that we love to go out to have dinner at, and our grandkids were down for 2 weeks, and they were great, but we couldn't do all the fun stuff that they're used to doing, you know? So I know, first world problems, we all have our health. Thank God for that. You know, to your point, I think these changes are here to stay to some degree. I think we're going to see, at least for the foreseeable future, things like this in place of, you know, I think it was Bruce that was saying, you know, Sturgis, the idea of going to a big festival, you know, I just don't see that, you know, I just don't see that.
Yeah. I mean, well, hopefully, you know, we'll be able to witness an incredible newness that will come out of this, that will open up some people's eyes and will allow us to really appreciate the industry that we had and further really take in the greatness of the industry that we will have in the future. I go to Bruce. Bruce, you have recently made a move out of LA, and here you are now, you're set up in a place. We did a panel together. You had so much to offer with wisdom. Where are you at right now with all this?
Well, thankfully, and thank you, and great to see you all. Yeah, being in a home finally. I was in a little town home in Studio City, so I'm really glad I have the space now. So that's a great thing. You know, for the last 20 years, I was touring at least 40 to 50 gigs a year, which is not a lot, but it's almost every weekend with Grand Funk Railroad, all fly dates. Like a lot of the heritage classic rock bands, from Blue Oyster Cult to Guess Who to REO to Journey, whatever, you know. And of course, it all came to a screeching halt in March. I have a dear friend in China who is a musician. He married a Chinese girl. And I was kind of really very aware of how bad this could get. And him being a smart New York Jew, he told me, dude, this, you know, you're not going to believe what's going to happen. You know, so I was already prepped for it. Although once it really hit and the lockdown happened and no travel with no, you know, for 20 years solid, maybe I'd have 5 weeks off, you know, and I think some of your other touring kind of players know what that's like. That gig is 70 to 75% of my year, you know, of like what my income comes from. And then fortunately, because of those 12 years in KISS, I've always kept a great relationship with the KISS fans, who are wonderful, and they still support my non-makeup era, and we still have always had this communication. So I just went wild on social media because I was out of my mind thinking that there are no gigs. I'm not going to make that income. I can't rely on the government. By the way, the Nevada independent contractor, PUA, they call it, very poor. Okay. It started to happen, stopped happening. You cannot rely on the government. Okay. Wow. So I got as aggressive as possible to entertain them. It became an obsession for me. And I was winning the internet with the KISS fans for KISS content, because the Grand Funk gig was really just me performing their songs, you know, and casino gigs, festival gigs, but it's not the same. I got my wife to work, who's a lovely singer. Apparently you have a wife that sings too, David. That's cool, you know. But, and we're entertaining constantly. And then at the same time, I got busy for some money things. Cameo's been very good for me as the KISS guitar player, who will give you a shout out. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, Cameo, but it's pretty cool. And that's been pretty good for me. Some online lessons. I've been trying to improve that. I think a lot of people are a little intimidated, or they don't know what I can show, if you get what I'm saying. But I'm working on that as well. Much more sessions. I finally, the silver lining in a pandemic, all of a sudden musicians that you would never work with because they're too busy, all of a sudden, hey, we're going to do this album. Chris Jericho happens to be a really good singer, the wrestler. He has a band called Fozzy. And all of a sudden it's like, we're covering just non-makeup KISS. And I got these killer guys from Nashville, great players, okay, that I didn't know of before. And the next thing I know, you got to do leads on this song from the Revenge KISS album. And I'm like, I don't have a studio at home. I wasn't going to leave the house. Well, now I have a studio at home that I am taking sessions, and it's just a garage band, but I'm miking because I'm in a house, a Marshall amp, and the neighbors don't give a damn. I'm fine. So I'm doing even acoustic sessions. Would I leave the house for a proper session? Like the way David said, with a mask rule? Yes, I would consider it. Okay, but not without that. I would not. I fear people more than the virus. I've never seen this country in such division. It's truly frightening. So the virus is bad enough, and then you know, I do know everyone wants entertainment and they love musicians and they love to be entertained. And I think Dom said it very well. When we get to the other side of this, it will be redefined and it might be really different. But right now, my whole life is about learning all the new things I can do to not only generate some money, but also to be creative and entertain. And that I've been able to do.
Well, that is absolutely fantastic.
Great.
And open-minded too, which is really beautiful. Rich Redmond, you made the move out to LA, and you're out there now doing several different things other than music. And of course, with Jason Aldean, you also got involved with some acting stuff that you're doing. You really have kind of widened what's happening. Where are you at now with these challenges that we're facing now?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. First of all, it's great to see everyone. And I have to say that everybody in these cute little squares has positively affected my life in some way. And I have very specific stories about everyone. If we had the time, I would share. But just trust me in saying that everybody in these little Hollywood squares has changed my life in some way. And but I'm coming to you. It looks like New York, 23rd Street area, but it's actually I'm in West Hollywood, California. And for the last 2 years, I've been dating a beautiful girl, Kara, a fashion designer, and we've been having a bi-coastal life. And as soon as I got the word that Live Nation was going to pull the plug on our thing on March 12th, on March 13th, I got on a plane. I said, if I'm going to go through a pandemic and quarantine, I'm going to do it with a beautiful girl. And so I'm enjoying, California sunsets and palm trees and earthquakes. But at, every night we have, we cook dinner together and the sun is setting and I might light up a cigar and have some California Pinot. And then during the day, man, I hustle. I'm working on some other interesting skill sets that I've always been interested in. So I'm staring at this Zoom screen almost like 4 hours a day, whether I'm, doing music career consulting or online drum lessons. And then I have acting classes and I have a speaking coach. So when people say they're bored, I'm like, my God, I would love to be bored. I just, because I'm trying to emphasize the positive, accentuate the positive, and just moving forward in life and trying to develop these things. I get back to Nashville. I've been back to Nashville, I think maybe 4 times, which is really interesting. So I got the gloves and I got the hand sanitizers. I got the wipes. I got the surgeon shield. I got the two. I just go and I take a window seat. I got a smile on my face and I watch Netflix, and 4 hours later I'm in Nashville. And we've been working, a lot of the session people that I work with in Nashville for the last 23, 24 years. We did some music for Lane Hardy on American Idol, and we did some new Jason Aldean tracks, and there's this new artist named Tim Montana. So everyone's been really respectful. It's a little frightening to be trying to distance yourself 6 feet and not breathe on people that you've known for 23 years. It's a very crazy thing. But we went in there and we did it, and it was super fun. And I have another thing coming up. We're doing like a Flats duet record, and they want the Aldean band on there. So I got to fly to Nashville. And then to cushion the costs, when I'm in Nashville, I have a home studio. So I'll just say, all right, I'm going to crank out 15 songs this Saturday. And I have an engineer, and that covers my cost plus some. And I'm also looking for a situation like that in Los Angeles, because the future that I see is living in both cities, because they both have things that the other city doesn't have. And you put them together and it's like peanut butter and chocolate. Like, you got your peanut butter in my chocolate. You got your chocolate in my peanut butter. And it's, so I'm just trying to stay positive. And do I want to be touring and taking our songs to the masses? Absolutely. But, our hands are tied. So the best thing to do is just keep moving forward, stay positive, get your exercise, read good literature, kiss somebody you love. And it's all going to come back around, because humans are social creatures and we want to be around each other. Now, is this going to have lasting impact on our industry? I mean, who knew that our industry was on quicksand? But we survive. We survived the 8-track. We survived the LP, the cassette. I skipped the Blu-ray. Then there's the file sharing, and you used to be able just to be like Eddie Bears, a world-class session drummer. Oh. But he also composes and plays piano, and then has the Opry gig, and then consults. And so now, instead of doing one thing well, you have to do 10 things well. And what are you going to do? Cry in your Cheerios? No, you're just going to do it with a smile on your face.
Well, it's profoundly what Bing Crosby said many years ago. You have to accentuate the positive, latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In Between. That's really what it gets down to. Very, very good. Yeah. Paul Quin, who is my partner in crime here, is always with me at my side here to open up the ideas of this insane music business. Paul, entertainment lawyer, you're a musician. You have always been at the forefront of whether it's law or music. What do you see now with all this challenge?
I'm not sure I'm happy being the Robin to your Batman, but aside from that, first of all, welcome to everybody. And I don't know if everybody's twigged what we've all got in common yet, other than the fact that we all know each other and love each other. But everybody on this call today has sat on a sessions panel at the NAMM show. And so we wanted to bring you all back together and just see how everybody was doing. So that was the purpose. But I'll tell you, I've been busier than ever. It's really, really hard to do hearings and depositions by Zoom, but I'm getting used to doing it. I spend as much time on Zoom probably as Rich does. But the industry changes are interesting. First of all, I'm getting more calls than I probably ever got, because I think people have time to think about what needs to be done. You know, I think a lot of us live our life at such a pace that we forget to actually reflect on what we need to do to get to where we want to be. And I think people have had some time during this. But, you know, what's really apparent to me is that the cream rises to the top, you know, and complacency is the enemy of creativity. So as we've all found ourselves in a time where we have time on our hands maybe that we didn't have before, some of the creativity has just been off the wall. You know, I mean, I've been watching John DeChristopher's Facebook videos from his house, you know, and whether it was whether it was just him, or whether it was Gad, or whether it was Erskine, or my favorite was the interview he did with Gary Malaber. You know, I mean, that's fantastic. And that stuff was just not around before. Having the time to do that and thinking about how to do it and how to present it, you know, just lets us know that creative people are going to take advantage of even bad times to come up with something great and inspire others. And, you know, you inspire me, and everybody on this call inspires me. And I thank you for joining us today. It was one other thing I want to say, because the more I hear people talk about the importance of being socially distant, I have a real problem with that term, not with the fact, because what we need to be is physically distant. We absolutely don't need to be socially distant. And in fact, at this time when we are physically distant, what we really need to be is socially close. And so whether it's Zoom or however it is, really, I mean, this is the best thing we've got going on right now. And being socially distant, I don't want to be socially distant from anybody. I love everybody on this call. But I kind of want to be physically distant from y'all, but not for any profound reason. But so anyway, just my thoughts, and thanks for joining us today. It's awesome to have you here.
Thank you, Paul.
You know, Paul, I always thought you as Batman, so it's kind of interesting.
I always saw you more as an Alfred character, so that fits perfectly.
Thank you so much. I'll take that. So the sessions and what Jules Follett has put together here with this incredible vision is really about the music business part of what's happening. Artistically, we've developed our skills. We are continuing to develop those skills, but it really is the business side of what this is about. So I'm going to throw a couple of questions out. Raise your hand if you have an answer for me and you want to be a part of it, and we'll tap into it and I'll call upon you. But I mean, in this business part of it, where do you see in the next few months, where do you see this industry being as far as your perspective? Are you widening your skill base? Are you trying to bring in new ideas to yourself? Are you perpetuating your personal, maybe business and artistic skills to a certain level? What is it that you're doing that's helping you to move forward? John DeChristopher, we'll take you first. Go for it.
Maybe almost all of the above, Dom. I think doing new things, as Paul pointed out, and I failed to mention, I'd started doing these live from my drum room chats, kind of initially just sort of on my own, just stream of consciousness kind of blabber. And then, you know, Steve Gadd actually called one day and said, "Hey, are you online or something right now? Are you doing some kind of thing?" And so we started talking about it, and he wanted to do one. So, and it sort of snowballed from there, and Peter and Gary Malaber and Stan Lynch and a whole bunch of other people. I envision doing more of those in the coming months. My mom's having some health issues, and Bruce, I know you've been through that, so you can relate. I got to be there right now to just sort of see that through. But what this has done for me has made me realize that I want to do things that uplift people. And if it's a 45-minute Facebook live chat with a famous drummer, and that makes people happy, I don't want to charge people for it. And nothing, there's anything wrong with that either. But my feeling is that if I can do something that just sort of gives something back to people, why not do it? And at the same time, I'm learning a new skill to your point, as far as something I'd never done before. And I just tried it and said, okay, I think I can do this. And I just sort of kept learning as I went. So, well,
John, you've got great communication skills, and fortunately for yourself, you look just like Harry. So therefore you're good looking.
Yeah.
And by being good looking like that, that's got to help out.
It's a major help. And by the way, Harry was on my show. I failed to mention I had Harry and Jeff Chonis, the original Drum Paradise founders in Los Angeles, who I met 35 years ago. And so that was really cool to have Jeff and Harry and talking about all the old days. It's really been a blast doing that. So
fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, Dom.
Eddie, what are you doing? You said you're doing this keyboard session that's coming up.
Yep.
And you've got that going on, and you're doing some drumming tracks.
Yep.
So you're doing a wide variety of things, maybe in your own studio. This is incredible.
Yeah. I think I could speak for us all, but any of us that have been in this business over 30 or 40 years, we have met a lot of challenges. And each time we were faced with those, it was about creating what was the unknown. I can pretty well speak for all of us. This is something we could have never thought would be, but it is. But one thing we've done as creative people, as we're met with these challenges, that brings out our creative soul, and that's what we're doing. So we take our resources and what's inside of us, it automatically spawns the creativity within us to be able to seek things that we can do, things that we can create, things that we can innovate on, about our talent, our existence, which I'm sure we're all doing, because we're all in different facets, but it's still the same challenge. And in unimaginable times, this is one of our greatest challenges, to be able to meet this. And it will open up your mind and your creativity that you're going to survive.
You open your mind if you're willing to open your mind. I think that's the key aspect, is you have to have that desire to say, I'm going to open up my mind to take in new ideas and be willing to change. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Bruce.
I mean, absolutely what happens, all of a sudden, my life of traveling and making a good living is taken away. I was booked for the KISS cruise, getting paid very, very well to be one of the guests. Canceled. Okay. Well, postponed a year. And who knows what's going to happen October 21. But the point is, all those things being, hitting really hitting the brakes completely. My band with Grand Funk, everyone's in a different state. And Don Brewer, is like, he's the one that works with the agent. And he's like, I'm in Florida. We can't even go to New York if there was a gig there, because then I got to quarantine for 2 weeks, and who wants to really get on a plane unless you absolutely have to, So I'm aware that I see it. So all of a sudden, where I used to be lazy with like, okay, I got a session, I would charge somebody. I knew where to go. Even in Vegas, I got set up very quickly with a guy who had a good home studio, had a great amp there. He knew what to do, Pro Tools, the whole thing. Sometimes they would like me to, they like the guy paying for the session would like a little video of me doing some of the work, right? Which now is like everything's video, right? I wanted to remove that. And that's what I had to learn. So then I became very aggressive about like, I am going to learn my GarageBand. I am going to do it as best as I can. Yeah. And I think all bright musicians know that what you don't know, if you typically you had someone else do it for you, like your guitar tech is going to fix the guitar, right? But if you can't see the guitar tech, then figure out how to fix the guitar, right? So like I figured out how to use my GarageBand. Yes, many days of me screaming at the computer. I don't even know what's going on. What happened? And then all of a sudden you learn and you look at a tutorial, or you just keep trial and error. And I cannot believe, I'm so proud of myself, and I'm sure many of you who had to kind of adapt and learn new things, new tools to keep it moving forward, your career, your business, your creativity, you're forced to do it. And you don't have the excuse of, well, I don't have time. I have this gig on the weekend and I got, that's gone. Okay. You have all the time. And now same thing with video is so important now. And I'll tell you, Dom, I saw the emails we got today. Make sure you look like this and try to do it like that. And all of a sudden, Lisa and I, my wife, we're running around. I go like, you got to do it really great. Let's get the lights from downstairs. We're going to set them up good. I want to know what I look like, because I realized in the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. One last thing that was real important. There was a guy that I met through just chatting on one of those sites where you can book me for a lesson or chat with me. Okay. And he didn't want a lesson. He just wanted to talk to me about my years in KISS. But he's a very successful brand marketing guy. I think they're SEO, they call it, or something like that. A musician doesn't usually have that. You have a publicist, a manager, a label, a merchandising. And he's been teaching me things to build my brand. And they're all mind-blowing. I can't look at analytics. I don't understand them, But he's looking at, well, KISS has 12 million people on their Facebook. Why couldn't you have X? Why is your YouTube channel only this? And I'm like, teach me, I'll do it. So he's really thrown a lot of things at me that I have to admit my brain was like short circuiting, because it's a lot of information, a lot of things to do, a lot of things to learn. I do have people to rely on who can translate for me sometimes, a girl that works on my website and a guy that dabbles with YouTube. But I just got the most fabulous email from him a couple of days ago. My team is so proud of what you've done. I'm like his beta child, you know what I mean? Because he's not charging me. I couldn't afford the guy, to be honest. But I'm like his artist beta, and I got to go in and do all this stuff that has nothing to do with tuning a guitar and being creative on the instrument. Okay. So how many pieces of my brain and my knowledge do I have to adjust to that is not about just music has been the biggest challenge, probably, because there was a lot of that I could just pawn off for somebody else, hit record. Here you go. I want to play. Now I'm doing all that. I'm setting it up. I'm getting the mic. I want to make sure I got it right.
Good for you.
From the video thing, right? And then my wife was like, I used to work on iMovie a bit. Really? Can you do and there she was starting to jump into it. And now that just opened up a whole new world for us, where when I do a video now, she's going to insert like album covers, what I'm talking about, or break away to do something else. Why not? Where are we going? Nowhere. You know what I mean? Just it's like we're on the creative avenue right now. And I don't know when we're getting off of it, because I don't see anything going back to normal too soon. Okay.
Yeah. So with the fact that we have been given and blessed with this gift of time, think about that. We've been blessed with this gift of time. In that gift, are you working on your social media more? Are you working on your website more? Are you working on a YouTube channel? What are you doing within that time that's helping your business to grow? What specifically are you doing? Let's start with Rich Redmond.
Well, it's exhausting doing all of it. It's nice to have people. I love hearing when people go like, I don't have time for social media. I have somebody that does it for me. I'm like, oh my God, that would be amazing. But keeping all those things moving forward, it's really about them, making everything about them. What you have to offer. I mean, because let's face it, we're really in the service business, where when we play our instrument for somebody, we're bringing an artist, a band, a songwriter, a producer, a label's artist's vision to life. And if they want it faster or slower or bluer or greener, that's what we do. But I'm trying to always just grow all those things. It's the same thing. Bruce, man, it's like my boss, Jason Aldean, millions and millions of followers. Well, hey, I've been there every step of the way, every gig, every rehearsal, every tour, every television show. How come I can't get a little piece of that pie? Because I don't know. I don't know if people think that the drummer that's 12 feet behind the guy is as sexy as the front guy, but I want some of it. So I got to fight for it, But my day is keeping the drumming thing alive, keeping those sticks in my hand a little bit here and there. I've got this new Dharma drum from LP. I tell you what, I've been playing drums professionally for I don't know how many years, 30 years. Started playing in 1976 when dinosaurs roamed the earth. This is what I do. It's my calling. But I have gotten so much enjoyment out of this little hand drum. I took it out to Joshua Tree for my 50th birthday, and I drank copious amounts of coffee and wine, and was just out there. I was expecting to see a T-Rex or someone from the set of Planet of the Apes to just jump out. It was a gorgeous place. And I'm just vibing out like hours a day on this Dharma drum, man. It gives me so much pleasure. But I'm just trying to think where I'm going with my life. Am I always going to play drums? Absolutely. I was put on this earth to affect people. That's my means of expression. But I like doing what Dom does, man. Every time I get to host a podcast or do a panel discussion or speak, I'm working on my hosting abilities. I'm working on my ability to entertain people, keep something moving forward. So I'm on like episode 67 of my podcast. Eddie was on the podcast. David was on the, everyone's going to be on the podcast, whether you guys know. Harry was on the podcast. You guys are all going to be on the podcast. And that was beautiful, man. In Nashville, I have this nice home studio with the mics and the processor, and I got my sign, and it's well lit. It's like pro. And then this thing happens, and now here we are. I've got to figure out how to make the highest production quality humanly possible by having 3 people on Zoom, me, my co-host, and my guest. Okay. And that's been working out. You know, I have a sponsor, the School of Rock. They're like, no, we're cool. We're still going to sponsor you. And then trying to figure out how I'm going to continue to get these speaking gigs, which are always wonderfully impactful. But you have to travel to go do the speaking gigs. And so now that industry is completely turned upside down. And I've been doing speeches on Zoom, trying to have production value. I've been doing online hosting, talking head stuff where I pre-record stuff. So Oracle had a meeting and I had to do talking head stuff for Oracle. So you get a ring light, you have Zoom, boom, you have your space looking good. You learn about all that stuff. And then I made customized drum solos for them. So they were having their meeting. And then in between each chapter of their meeting, it would be like, dun, dun, Oracle, dun, dun. And I recorded all this stuff for them, right? And they're just like, boom, we love you, kid. Here it is. And then hopefully they're going to tell someone else, and that's going to turn into something. And then my latest, obsession is trying to figure out how to be a cop, be a detective, be a firefighter, be the douchey husband, be the friend next door, be the school teacher, be the music producer, give me a couple lines, got my SAG card, and I'm trying to attach myself to some films. When this all comes back to life and these films get funded, I'm in business and I can crank out my stuff on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in between my tour with Jason Aldean. So I'm just trying not to let the moss grow. I'm trying to keep it all moving forward. And if you have 10 revenue streams and 9 of them go away, probably still going to be okay.
Yeah. Amen.
Thanks so much. Carlos, you're able to maintain an incredible social media presence, not only doing announcements about the different musicians that you're working with, but also with the Lissa Wales Foundation, where you're promoting her picture.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's so great to see those.
What I think is what's the most amazing part about this whole situation, especially on this panel today, every one of us has not lost the hunger that got us to this position where we're at today. And we continue to do it. So just because something like this happens doesn't mean that we stop working. And if anything, we've been working more and more, every day, trying to get better. And as far as the social media, I love social media because you can go around the world for free, what you used to have to pay a publicist to do. So now it's fantastic. And, gaining all sorts of new strength. Since Harry and I talk a lot, so much, he's told me, and I want him to further basically expound on this, is that how, since he's stayed and has to stay in Nashville, now he's able to go personally to all the cartage places and actually meet with producers instead of just being a name. So Harry, talk a little bit about actually, showing up at these sessions.
If anybody that knows me, I'm always usually on the road for many years. And this time has allowed me to dig in with my business and be more hands-on. Carlos is talking about if we do a cartage or a rental on a project, I'll get there ahead of time and make sure it's just more of a personalized service. Not just showing my face, but Eddie knows, just going around and making sure everybody's getting what they need.
Yeah, but think about like the client, like Eddie, that when Eddie shows up, he knows that not only is Harry's, cartage there, Harry's there. And that makes a big difference. That makes a real big difference because you're going, hey, this guy really cares about my drums, about me, about the service, that he's going to just show up and make sure that everything's right.
Well, that's the gift that Harry has that I've always said, yeah, I could sit down like any other drummer and be able to tune accordingly. But Harry's a master. He is a drum tech. And when I get to the studio this Monday, those drums are going to sound like $1 million. And I know that. That's why I trust it. And he's there to make sure that everything's in place.
Thank you, Eddie. Like any business, you want to do the best you can do and be great at what you're trying to accomplish. The personalized service end of my business, that's how I built it from the very beginning. But I just want to backtrack and listening to everybody, in this conversation. What I'm hearing is everyone's thinking about survival mode, what they need to do to pay the bills and keep it going. For me personally, I've used DOM some of the time. I focus on my business, social media, take care of my clients, but I've had days where I wake up and it doesn't feel right. That idle, I gotta be productive. We all want to do something every day. We don't want to waste the day away. What I've learned is to make the time count, not just with family, but maybe growing personally and working on things that I know I need to work on, to be better. I'm looking into getting involved with some inner city schools and maybe doing some speaking and inspiring. Like Johnny said, you want to feel like you're helping other people and you're lifting the spirits of other people, because this whole pandemic has affected us all. And I've even noticed it with my daughter. She's up and down. I have this sense of awareness, you guys, of every moment and every day. I'm always focused, drum paradise, pay the bills, take care of business, but I'm also seeing the big picture, if that makes any sense.
Boy, it sure does, Harry. And what you're basically explaining is what you're focusing on is the deepest level of compassion, to feel what other people feel. It's one thing about what we're going through, but everyone's fighting their own battle, and being concerned about that and being assistant to that can only be a tremendous help. Beautifully said, Harry. Well done. In closing, guys, I'm going to give you all 20 seconds to wind down a closing thought that you can share with any listener that's here. That could be a multi-instrument, whatever they do, recording technology. What kind of advice would you give them? David Santos, hit it off.
I would try to stay doing what you love doing. Through this whole thing, it's going to go away, and we'll get back to what we normally do.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Eddie, what would you tell them?
No, I agree, David, 100%. This will go behind us. But the main thing is when you're in this challenge and you're facing uncertainties, always keep your gift and everything to proceed what you do, and keep creating and always keep finding a way and you'll survive.
Fantastic. Well said. Bruce Kulick, what would you tell them?
Well, I've learned so much actually from all of you. I mean, we're all in this together, and everyone here is part of the industry. And I want to thank you all for that. And I do really think this is the time when everybody should be learning new things. And maybe, as Harry so well said, some self-reflection of the greater picture of all our lives. That was very profound what you said. Thank you.
Beautiful. Rich Redmond.
Oh, man, I would say for sure stay positive, stay moving forward in all that you do, stay creative, drink lots of water, take your vitamins, eat your greens, reflect, get that exercise, even if it's just 10 minutes walking around the block, wear a mask, and don't touch your face.
All right.
Carlos Goodman, what would you say?
Max Weinberg gave me a tremendous quote many, many years ago that holds true today. And he says, Carlos, watch out for the curves. And boy, let me tell you, that statement has really come true starting since March. So
Yeah.
I've been since the very beginning. I've been watching out for the curbs, and thanks to Max, I'm here with you guys. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys soon.
Love
Thanks
you
for
too,
having
man.
me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Harry, what would you close with?
First off, real quickly, thank you for Jules bringing us together. Dom, thank you.
Yes.
And love seeing everybody. For your listeners, if you ever have a moment where you think you're not motivated, think of Rich Redmond.
Yeah.
Go after it. Go get it. Stay
Yeah.
positive, and this
Thanks,
will
everybody.
pass, like Eddie said, and David. It's going to be okay. Keep the faith.
John DeChristopher, what would you tell him?
Dom, thanks for having me, first of all, and Paul, and great to see everybody. I love and miss you all. I'll echo what so many of others have said, which is we're going to get through it. But I think we all agree it's going to be different. Just be good to everybody, respect everybody. If it means wearing a mask, wear a mask. You know, we all got to get through this together. So let's all just try to help each other, you know.
Yep. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Paul Quin, entertainment lawyer, musician, producer, all that you do. What would you tell these people?
You know, I would say let's emerge from this, not just better musicians, but better people. You know, we can do that. There is no shortage of time to become a better person, to reflect and to think. And I would say love everybody. And all those people that you've been thinking you should call, yeah, I need to call that person. Call them. Don't call them tomorrow, right? Because it's real easy to put stuff off till tomorrow. Call them today. Tell them you love them. Because when we do that, ultimately, we make the world a better place. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Oh, thank you.
Fantastic, Paul. Well said.
Thanks, everybody.
You know, there are three types of people in the world and what I've evaluated in my global travels. The first is the wave maker, the person that makes the wave no matter what's going on. They get out and they make the wave. They're proactive. Then there's the wave rider, the person that waits for the wave to be made and then hops onto the wave. And then there's the person that spends all of their life looking for the beach. We are clearly in this group, as I see. You all are absolute wave makers. And in challenging times, you're putting your big boy pants on and you're going out there and you're making a difference and you're laying down an even bigger blueprint for this world than you have before. And this will bring us out even to another higher level. For that, on behalf of the sessions, we thank you so much. You guys are great. Jules, thank you so much for allowing us
Thank
to
you,
have
Jules.
Thank you, Jules. Love you.
Hey.
Jules,
Sessions panel.
love you, Jules.
All the different interviews that are there, the Sessions panel on YouTube. Go there and subscribe. We thank you all so much, guys. Bye-bye. Safe travels.
Thank you, Don.
You.
Dom Famularo here, the Sessions panel. This is so exciting. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Click the subscribe button to be a part of what we're doing. The views help us tremendously. All of your comments, we read them and react to them. This is incredible. The support you're giving us is great. The Sessions panel. We'll see you real soon.